This morning we're going to talk about William Whiting Borden because he had good hair and for a few other reasons. But William Whiting Borden was born in 1887, lived in Chicago area, and the Borden family was involved in a lot of things. For those of us who have a few years under our belt, we remember Elsie the cow, right? The Borden label. Interesting, the Bordens also owned Elmer's Glue, kind of vertically integrated there. And also, they were involved in real estate. So whatever the source of income for William's family, they were loaded. They had lots of money. Income was not an issue for them. And another interesting thing about William's family, his mother came to know Christ as her Savior, and soon afterwards, probably as a teenager, William also came to know Christ and became an on-fire Christian. When he graduated from high school, his parents gave him a trip around the world. Not a bad gift for 1905, I'm guessing. Probably cost a few dollars. He went around the world, and during that time, he became convicted that he should be a missionary. That not only was he out there for a joyride, but his heart yearned to serve other people. He felt that God was calling him to that. And coming out of that, a friend of his would say, "You're throwing yourself away as a missionary." He had so much potential to do other things, and he's doing the missionary thing. So that was kind of an uncomfortable thing, but William went on, and he went to this school. Anyone recognize that? Yale. Not a bad institution to get into. And at Yale, he excelled academically, he excelled athletically. And another interesting thing that happened was while he was there, he felt like there weren't enough spiritual opportunities for people. So he started a prayer group, which grew into a Bible study. And during his freshman year, 150 people in his class got involved in the Bible study. By the time he graduated as a senior, 1,000 of the 1,300 students at Yale were involved in these Bible studies. Quite a tremendous change of things. From Yale, there were some geographic stops that William did. He went to New Jersey to study at Princeton Seminary. Again, not a bad institution to get into. After that, he went to New York City, where he worked in a missions organization, kind of got his feet wet, and he ended up with this sense of call to go to China. He knew of a people group in China that there were 10 million Muslims who had never heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he felt called to go there. He knew that this was the next step that he should go to. And so, before he went there, he went to Cairo, Egypt, to be able to take classes, to learn language, learn culture. And while he was there, he contracted spinal meningitis. And 19 days later, he died. 25 years old. He had done lots of good, going to do lots more, and he died. And my question to myself is, was it worth it? On the surface, I say, no. Not on the surface. Similar story today when we look at Joseph. We've been following the story of Joseph the last few weeks, and this is another week in which we look at Joseph's story and say, was it worth it? Was it worth it for Joseph to live this pattern, to live this devoted life to God? To think about this, we're going to take a look at Genesis chapter 39, verses 1 through 6, to get us started. This is after Joseph's brothers had nicely sold him into slavery. Chapter 39, verse 1. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So he left in Joseph's care everything he had, with Joseph in charge. He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. This is the good part of the story. This is where Joseph is pleasing to God and to man. And this is where I, anyway, want to live my life, in which what you're doing is honoring and pleasing to God, and everybody likes it. You know, you do stuff good for God and you make a lot of money. You do stuff that's good for God and people acknowledge you. This is a good part of Joseph's life. I kind of like this. This is a nice sort of part of his life. And it wasn't easy to get there. It was 11 years. If we do the math, if he was sold about age 17, we can kind of back calculate and figure out it took him about 11 years to move up through the ranks of slavery in Potiphar's household. But he's arrived. A rags to riches sort of story. And I'm a history buff. Does anybody remember rags to riches stories? Horatio Alger? I've got books. You don't hang out at used bookstores a lot, do you? Yeah, I'm not the only one. All right, 1900-ish, a lot of stories came out in American culture of rags to riches. This is the American dream of going from nothing to something. If you work hard enough and you hit your luck just right, you can end up with lots of stuff. And this is the story that Joseph is at now. He worked hard, he did lots of things, a little bit lucky. God prospered him. And then there's the next part of the story. This is more of the riches to rags part of the story, in which, well, the rest of verse 6 kind of warms us up to the rest of it. It says, "Now Joseph was well-built and handsome, and Potiphar's wife noticed." And so then the story goes downhill from there. Potiphar's wife kind of likes Joseph, and Joseph says no, does the right thing, repeatedly does the right thing, gets Potiphar's wife mad. Joseph ends up going to jail because she told her husband a story about Joseph. And this is how the story ends. After Joseph did the right thing. Let's start with verse 19. When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me," he burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was there in prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. Joe does the right thing and gets punished. And not just punished lightly. In Psalm 105, we get a feel for what this punishment was like, in which the psalmist talks about Joseph, and he said, who was sold as a slave, his feet were hurt with fetters, his neck was put in a collar of iron. This is not a gentleman's prison. This is hard stuff that he ends up in. Riches to rags, and I once again ask myself, was it worth it for Joseph to go from riches to rags for doing the right thing? As I wrestle with this question of, was it worth it? Notice in these verses 1 through 23, 7 times we're told that Joseph was prospered by the Lord. Is that just a cruel joke? You can see Joseph is rising up and then it's all taken away. He's rising up. Prospered by the Lord? What does this prospered mean? And I think my frame of reference needs to be clear on this. And so as I considered it, I thought about Chinese food, because that clears my mind. And we've talked about Chinese food before, and we've established that it is a good, wholesome food to eat. Excuse me? Did somebody say something? I'm just going to ignore that. I'm just going to move on. Okay, so egg rolls, spring rolls, whatever you want to call them, they are amazing. All right? They are an amazing food. And I'm a small guy, but I can eat a lot. All right, I can pack them away. And I love them so much. And if you take them away from me, I'll be very sad. I'll be crushed. I'll be devastated. And I hope that you're thinking at this point, this is ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But it's true. I get very sad if there's no egg rolls at the Chinese buffet. I'm like, oh, who took them? Now I'll go around and try to pull them off somebody's plate. If I get so focused on a small blessing, I forget about the giver of the blessings. So the egg roll thing is obviously ridiculous. But that's how I end up with the story of Joseph, or the story of William. I'm expecting the good little blessings all the time to see, oh, well, what good thing does Joseph get for doing the right thing here? And I forget that the important part is that he knows God. He knows the giver of the gifts. The key isn't just how many egg rolls he ends up with at the end of the day. The key is, does he know God? Does he know God for eternity beyond the blessings of a day? And with that frame of reference, I think that this story makes a lot more sense of saying that God prospered Joseph. And so there's three things I want to think about this morning of being prospered. And one is character. Again, Psalm 105, until what he has said came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. This idea that Joseph was being formed and molded by God through these circumstances, and to some degree, who he was being revealed through these circumstances. I'm assuming my parents aren't any different than a lot of your parents, who when you went through something bad said it builds character. Right? Am I alone in this, or, all right? Yes. It's a cliche. And I was with my brother this last week, and I was reminded of one of the character building times. A hay wagon, he and I were working the wagon, and my father was pushing the wagon around a barn or something. And we got it to where it needed to be, and my father said, drop the wagon ton when we get to 3. 1, 2, and my brother dropped it. I'm telling you, he didn't wait until 3. He dropped it at 2. And it landed on my foot. Oh, crushing. Feel my pain, all right? This is deep pain that's coming out of me with my brother, and so I'm letting this loose now. Oh, it was crushing pain. And so, I said, oh, it wasn't fair. He can't count to 3, and he dropped it on 2. And my brother said, well, what person would put his foot underneath the wagon top and he knew it was going to be dropped anyway? And my parents said, well, it'll build character. No, it made a black toenail. But we have those situations in which we build character. And in some ways, it's a cliche, but we also know it's true. There are things that we go through in life that are nasty, but they build character. To move past the cliche, I think that we need to do more than just chalking it up as, yeah, it'll build character. What if we work with those experiences? In which we honestly think about and remember those hard times in life and ask God, could you reveal to me, God, how you're forming me and shaping me coming out of that situation? How am I different today than I was on the other side of that situation? Now for me, I get distracted easily. The whole squirrel thing of I'm thinking one thing and then I see and I'm gone. Journaling helps me. Especially when I'm thinking of something painful. It's easy for me to distract myself away from what was painful and working through that. Of journaling and writing down, kind of in prayer form of, God, what was going on here? Help me think this through. And actually writing it out and slowing down to have to, I guess you can type it if you want, I'm old school enough, I handwrite. To handwrite or type out, what was going on? What might be coming out of that? To take the time to pray and think that through. So building character is one of the things that God prospered Joseph with. Next one is the wounded healer. These are supposed to be silver spoons. Joseph was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was born into money. He was his father's favorite out of a whole mess of kids. He got the fancy coat. He got preferential treatment. When everything was taken away, when he is now a slave, he can relate to people a whole lot differently than he could when he still had the silver spoon in his mouth. If he showed up as Jacob's favorite son and talked to slaves, it'd be very different than if he was a slave also. When Joseph ended up in prison with his neck and clasped, it's very different than he showed up and just said, "Hey guys, I'm here to help you." He was given an opportunity to be a wounded healer, taking the wounds of life to be able to help other people heal. And that's an opportunity that you and I have if we're honest and transparent enough. Because it takes vulnerability to talk about the wounds that we've had in life. And one of the key pieces for us, I think, is to, again, pray and ask God to open our eyes and to be sensitive to seeing what's going on with other people. Of knowing when to make ourselves vulnerable and talk about those hurts, those wounds that we've gone through to help other people heal. One more way that God prospered Joseph. His life points towards God. In verse 3, when he's in Pharaoh's house, when his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did. Interesting. Potiphar didn't just see a lucky guy. Potiphar didn't just see somebody who could really deliver. Potiphar saw that this guy is different and that God is with him. And then again, going down into verse 21. The Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. Again, we get this idea that the prison warden isn't just seeing this successful, lucky guy. He's seeing God at work. Someone who knows God and is with God. And so this picture is that Joseph is making a difference simply by living his life and pointing others towards God. It's one that deals with a flashlight. Is a flashlight, you can tell that there's a light on in here if I have my flashlight on. But against a dark backdrop, a flashlight really shines. In Joseph's life, as things get darker, as the situations and circumstances become darker, as he lives for God, it's a bright light to everyone who sees it. Potiphar, the prison warden, they can't help but see God at work because there is a light shining amidst a dark backdrop, pointing them towards God. Let's go back to William Morton. That's supposed to be a cliffhanger to keep you interested in the rest of the sermon, you know? Like, they can't end there, saying that it wasn't worth it for his life. So this is what you've definitely been wanting for, the end of the sermon. Right? William Morton, when he died, left $1 million for missions. That's a lot of money in 1913. $1 million. His biographer said this: Borden not only gave away his wealth, but himself, in a way so joyous and natural that it seemed a privilege rather than a sacrifice. It's a picture of that shining a light which points other people toward God. When Borden died in Egypt, his Bible was sent back to his mother. In a part of that Bible, there were 6 words written. The first 2, no reserves. By the time that Borden decided that he was going to be a missionary, with resolve, he wrote no reserves. I'm not holding anything back. I'm living my life for God. Below that were 2 more words. No retreat. Joseph had plenty of opportunities to make lots of money, to do lots of other things, but he still continued at that crossroads to choose God's call for his life, and he wrote no retreat. Soon before his death, he wrote 2 more words. No regrets. On the surface, what looks like maybe a life that wasn't worth doing all those things, doing all those good things, serving God, he ends with a legacy of thinking about, I have no regrets for what I've done in my life because I've served God. I've pointed others towards God. I've seen so much more than just the individual blessings. I know God. For you and I hope that this is something that we think about as we contemplate the legacy that we leave. That maybe you're at a point in life in which you're thinking about, Where am I at with God? You know, what am I going to do about this God thing? He's out there. I hope we come to the conclusion of no reserves. But I'm not going to live half-heartedly for God. I'm going to live all out for God. And when we hit those crossroads in life, in which there's a lot more comfortable things to do than to do things we know God wants us to do, that we leave a legacy of no retreat. And I hope that someday, when I look back over legacy, and as you look back over your legacy, that we're able to say, I have no regrets for living my life for God. I'd live that over again. Because I know the one who gives the blessings more than just the superficial blessings.